You own the execution. I've been tight on expectations. I'm going to be tight on accountability, but you own the execution. The two frameworks that we use that I really evangelize and that we've incorporated, the first one is the idea of tight, loose, tight. And there's three sort of processes. The first one is expectations and clarity. The second one is all about execution. And the third one is accountability. A tight, loose, tight philosophy is I'm going to define very clearly what needs to be done, give you total and unilateral control into how it gets done. And I'm very tight on accountability when it gets done. And I'll give you an example of how I've used that framework with my team in our business. We have 8 dashboards that are up on large monitors throughout our office that demonstrate the status of our business in 8 different areas. There's one for our international operations. There's one for our domestic operations. We have one that's calendar based. We have one that has to do with end of month tasks that have to get completed. So things around support functions, et cetera. The first thing that I provided was a very clear expectation to our tech team to say, this is exactly what I want these dashboards to demonstrate. I'm going to give you really clear scoping. I want them to report the information in this way. I want it to be graphical. I don't want it to be just a bunch of text. Now you figure out how to do it and you tell me how long it's going to take. They gave me a date and I said, okay, great. Then we're not going to talk until that date, but you're going to be expected to deliver it on that date. Tight, loose, tight. Now that doesn't mean go sit in the room dark and I'm not going to give you any information. What it does mean is I'm not going to hover over your shoulder and say, you doing good on that? How are things going? Can I get an update? I think the value of those updates is absolute garbage. You own the execution. I've been tight on expectations. I'm going to be tight on accountability, but you own the execution. I'm going to be very loose in how we execute. But does loose in how we execute mean there are no guardrails? No, that's insane. There's guardrails, but I expect them to really own that process. It's not my role to put my hands on it. It's my role to be there as an advisor if they need it. And that really leads me to the second framework. Second framework, 10-80-10. I own the first 10%. It is my responsibility to get you from 0 to 10%. I had to draw a picture on the board to say, I want this thing in this area. It's going to talk about this. And to be clear, my picture in that area was a square that had like a cross in the middle of it. And the upper left said number. That was as far as I got. So we're talking real early 10% here. I have to provide that starting point. You now own the middle 80. You own getting it to 90% solution. You have to be very intentional about cultivating that environment for your team because it's really easy for the individual contributor to say, oh, gosh, he was really specific on the first 10%. I better go back and ask him because that 11%, I bet he's got real specific expectations. And what's important is to convey that I actually have no expectations about the 11%. That's your job. That's where you come in. You get me from 11 to 90, get me that 80% from 11 to 90. Then we're going to work together on the last 10%. This is something where it's, I trust you to get me 90% of the way there. But oh, by the way, let's come back and figure this out together. That last 10% is collaborative. So the value of this 10-80-10 approach is that it provides the person who's doing the majority of the work. They're never starting with a blank piece of paper. Getting the first 10% takes away that fear of the blank piece of paper. It also takes away the fear of it has to be perfect before I bring it back. You made the point of like asking people to ask questions. One of the best ways to encourage it is to say, I don't want to see a product at 100%. I want to see a product at 90%. You better have questions because then we're going to sand the edges and make it perfect at the end.